have joining me live here in our Abuja studio, the national chairman and the presidential candidate of the Zenith Labour Party and a lawyer, Mr. Dan Iwuanyanwu, joins us live here in our Abuja studio. Thanks so much indeed for coming tonight.
Thank you, Shehu, for having me again.
Thank you so much indeed. And also have from London, a counterterrorism and an extreme violence expert, Mr. Bulama Bukati is also a lawyer. He joins us live from London. It's good to see you. Join us tonight, Mr. Bukati.
Yeah, good to see you, Shehu. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Let me perhaps begin with you tonight, Mr. Bukati, and give us a sense of what you make of the meeting and the scenario playing out. Yesterday, the federal government says, we will not pay ransom. And it's ridiculous, the kind of amounts that the kidnappers are asking for the release of those that have been kidnapped in Kuraga, as the federal government and security operatives were moving men and boots on the ground to these areas. We saw what happened in Sokoto, we saw what happened in Borno State, and it does look like whether or not these guys were hiding in some enclave and just were coming out to unleash terror on our innocent Nigerians. What do you make of the scenario and the spate of kidnapping that we've seen in the past days?
I mean, to start with, Shehu, I 100% support the federal government's policy to not pay ransom. Paying ransom is only going to exacerbate this crisis, because the more money these violent criminals get, the more weapons and logistics they would stock, and the more people they would abduct, and the more terror they would unleash on Nigeria. So the policy of not paying ransom by the federal government is a very good one. I welcome it. I support it 100%. And I hope the federal government would also rein on the states to ensure that no state governor pays ransom, whatever be the situation. Now, this is the first thing. But the second thing is that when the federal government says we are not going to pay ransom, then the federal government needs to work hand in gloves to ensure that these young boys and girls and young women have been rescued. Because not paying ransom is one thing, but you also need to ensure that victims are rescued as soon as possible. And Shehu, listening to the account of some of the victims who have escaped, there were real opportunities in the first few hours and the first few days of the kidnapping for the security forces to rescue these children. For example, in Kaduna, one of the victims who escaped was interviewed by BBC Hausa, and he explains how they were made to trek for days into the bush. And he said there were times when the Nigerian army, the Nigerian Air Force helicopter was hovering over them. And when that happens, then the criminals would direct all of them to lay flat on the ground. They would lay flat on the ground for minutes, sometimes for 15 minutes, 20 minutes before the helicopter leaves, and then they would keep trekking. That's how they took them to where they took them, and now they are demanding ransom. If the Nigerian armed forces had sent in troops, ground troops, not air troops, because these criminals and terrorists have mastered the act of evading airstrikes and air efforts by the Nigerian armed forces. What you need are ground troops that will pursue them, hot pursuit of them into the bush, and ensure that they do not escape with the criminals. And the victim was even telling BBC Hausa how tired and exhausted the criminals themselves were, because they did not sleep, they were tired, they did not eat, they were becoming disorientated while they were leading the boys into the bush, the boys and the girls into the bush. If we had acted at that time, there is a real opportunity, real likelihood that we would have been able to rescue the victims. So that's the second point I am going to make. But when it comes to the situation generally, Shehu, under President Muhammadu Buhari, between December 2020 and October 2021, there were 7 different mass abduction of children from schools, and 1,437 children or students were abducted in those 7 incidents, along with 17 teachers. And it became so normal because President Buhari did not act decisively. President Tinubu has an opportunity to show these repugnant criminals that there is a new sheriff in town. And the way to do that is to pounce on them, to launch a heavy, sustained onslaught on them to show them that Nigeria is up to the task. Unless and until President Tinubu does this, he risks also becoming like President Buhari, under whose watch mass kidnapping of students from school became normalized in Nigeria. And I think President Tinubu wouldn't want that to be his record.
All right, quickly, I'd like to, okay, so I'll come to you in a moment, but let me allow our viewers to learn one or two things from what happened today at the meeting with the NSA and some of the governors. Here is what the NSA, some of the things that were said after that meeting. Take a listen. We'll get you that soundbite just in a moment. Let me, I see Mr. Bukati is still there with us. If you can tell us, just before we get that soundbite ready from the NSA and what happened today, my thinking is this: do we have the capacity, either digital area or remote capabilities in terms of technology, to be able to track and recover? Because that's what the president said. Go and bring back these people. Some of you who are security experts are the ones who say the very first few hours are very critical when there is an abduction of this kind.
Yeah, I mean, Shaun, like I said, the very first few hours and the few days were a real opportunity, but it is not too late. And I can tell you that Nigeria has the capability and capacity and wherewithal to bring these children back. But we do need to act decisively. And the way to act decisively, Shaun, is to deploy ground troops. I mean, these areas are not hidden. These people are still using their smartphones, and Nigerian security and law enforcement agencies have proven their capacity to track anyone. But I thought we have drones,
unmanned drones. I thought we have satellites that can give us a heat map of some sort. Okay, I'll get to you, Mr. Bukati. I think we've lost the connection with. Let me come to Chief Iwuanyanwu here. Give us a sense of what you make on how we can go in tackling these. The president is talking tough. The federal government says they are doing something. These people have been abducted. We've seen this abduction happen, Sokoto, Borno, in Kaduna. Yet again, it's happening in the school. They're taking some of these people into the bushes and the forest. Don't forget, the president told the governors, go and arm your forest guards. He gave them clear orders, clear instruction about what he thinks on safeguarding some of these states. If these terrorists and these criminal elements are hiding with their criminalities in the bush, and say, get your forest guard, is it incumbent on the governors, or what exactly do you make of what is happening?
First of all, I must have to commend the National Security Advisor, Malan Ribadu, for acting timelessly in having this meeting. What we have now has surpassed what happened during President Jonathan's regime. I read the report that this year alone, over 500,000 children have been taken away by bandits. All this has to do with politics.
Really?
We should not pretend about it. It started in a small way to get Jonathan out of office, to get President Jonathan out. And when President Tinubu is looking for a solution, or the security, they should not look beyond the key actors in 2014, 2015. They are the masterminds of this. We have our intel. They are the same people. They are around. They are not part of, some of them are part of the government. Some of them have lost power. They are not included in Tinubu's government. So the best thing is to make the place uncomfortable and ungovernable for President Tinubu, distract him, if possible, collapse the government, so that we can start afresh. So they should not go beyond it.
These are very strong allegations.
I know that. I know. The security agencies are no.
Security problems sometimes have the life of their own.
Yes.
Criminal elements will perpetrate their evil for whatever reasons and intention they have. when you come as a political figure that you have, that you are, and you are saying that some of these security, I mean, these are the lives of children who are in the square. You say politics is behind this.
They don't care.
This is grave.
They don't care. Those 250 or more children you took away, did they put them in the pocket? Was a 747 jet, Boeing, was it a jet that took them to that point? So in this time and age, it will not be accepted that even as I'm talking to you now, you will not know where they are. That's why I say it's politics. People in government, as it were then during President Jonathan's government, some of them are interested parties in this. And that is why it has become intractable. I have always referred to what General Sani Abacha said. That when you have a situation like this, and it lasts more than 24 hours or 48 hours, take it that government has a hand in it. He said so. This army, this military, security agencies in Nigeria, they are overqualified and over-equipped to clear this mess. Just give the appropriate orders. Put the appropriate people. Not people that will be sympathetic to the terrorists. Not people that will be looking at them as people that should not be killed. Some prominent people are saying, go and negotiate. You don't negotiate with terrorists. They are asking for 40 trillion. 3 years budget of Nigeria. I don't know whether that demand was as a result of ignorance or stupidity.
Or is it a joke
or stupidity
something?
Or a joke. Where would you, how many warehouses do we put it? Even if you are carrying it in dollars. It's madness. It's madness. If we want to stop this thing today, President Tinubu should give the appropriate order.
And what would that be? What would that order be?
Go and smoke them out. Move, go and smoke them out. You get them.
But he said that to them.
Yeah, he said that to them.
He said you should go after.
Apart from the order,
not pay ransom, and they must get those people.
Apart from the order, you put the appropriate people there. Look, something was working before President Jonathan left. Even earlier when Tinubu came, Buhari came to office. People were recalled, officers were removed. It happened in this country. And what I'm saying is that President Tinubu should know and realize today that it is that office of the president they're looking at. And he should guide it jealously.
So you think that there are people who are attacking, who want to bring down the government of President Tinubu?
Sure. Sure.
For what purpose? For what reason?
Some people feel they have lost that. Some people feel that he's taking decisions that will touch them based on the atrocities they committed in the past 8 years. Some people feel that, look, keep this man busy. Let him not concentrate. And that's why the president must hear it. I don't know if they are giving him the proper advice. That's why this meeting called by Rebadu is very rewarding. The president must know that they're looking for that seat. Nothing more. And that's why I said it's political. Give the appropriate people, put the appropriate people there. Give the appropriate command. These people are not ghosts. They are not spirits. Meet them at their base. They will, 2 strikes, they will leave the kids there and run away.
But collateral.
There is no, look at what Russia did. There's no time. I said this even when we are campaigning. Now, that time they were taking 150, 20, 10, 4, 5. I'm not saying that people must die. But it's better you save thousands that will be victims at the expense of few others. They know where these people are. Malam El-Rufai said so when he was governor. We listen to their discussions. We know where they are. He said it publicly. But when we give the information, they don't do anything. Even though I don't believe the sincerity of that comment. President Tinubu should realize this. They are looking for his seat. They have brought different suggestions. I'm not interested in trillion money negotiating with terrorists. No, but you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. You will know them. You see them. Look at what happened during the President Jonathan's time. When the Americans came to help us. They came. They discussed what to do. in getting to that place. After 2 days, the terrorists were seen wearing masks. It happened in this country, which means an insider in that meeting communicated to them. There are insiders involved in this thing.
Fifth columnist.
There are insiders involved in both in and out of government. These are the people. They want President Tinubu out. But they don't know that it is a very difficult task. They succeeded with President Jonathan. In fact, President Tinubu should know some of those who did that in 2014, 2015, and see where they are now. It is easy to identify them. Call them to order. Take them in. Take them in. We should not be afraid to take hard decisions when it comes to the issue.
These are
people's children.
These are Nigerians that you are referring to.
Yes.
Are these Nigerians you are referring to?
Of course they're Nigerians.
But they don't have the love of this country at heart, if that's the case, isn't it?
Do they care? Do they care?
But to what end?
If they love this country, look at the looting that took place. Money you cannot spend before you die. You carried it with impunity. Which love? Few people love this country. They're looking at what they will take. Look at the billions. Look at the trillions. People stole from our common patrimony. You say love. That's not like love. It's love for your pocket.
Just for a moment, Chief Iwuanyanwu, let me allow our viewers. I'm being told now that we can now listen to what transpired after the NSA meeting with some of the governors and some of the service chiefs. Take a listen now.
Governors and service chiefs and the National Security Advisor. So it relates to security. And you know, security is very topical, especially with the recent issues of kidnapping in the Northwest. And we are becoming so concerned that we need to discuss, review, and possibly take alternative options to what we have been doing before so that we can have a better result. We are amiable to it. In fact, that's the best way to go because the issue is until we join the two. And already the service chiefs and all other security agencies have been doing their best trying to cover up. So what we need to do is to change style, especially adding with a non-kinetic approach, so that at the end of it, when we join the two, we'll have a better security situation in the country.
Well, you see the governors there, and so you imagine how these elements, there are a lot of theories that are being, put into all of what is happening and the scenarios. But again, the question is the governors are the chief security officers of their state, and the capability of the governors to be able to secure the state is also called to question in all of these. For a moment, I see that Mr. Bukati is back with us. But Mr. Bukati, you heard what Chief Iwuanyanwu said. Some of these things is largely political. Do you agree?
Sean, I didn't hear most of what he said, but I did hear some of the crux of his arguments. And I think I would say the overall conclusion that this is political is a conspiracy theory, and there is no evidence to support that. I mean, when you say it is a conspiracy.
There we go again. We lost his connection again. But I mean, that's Mr. Bukati's response to what
yes, he is in London or wherever. He doesn't know what we are seeing here and what we are having here. This is the problem. It is on ground. You can feel it. You can feel it. Let me give you an example. There is a place in Imo that no business had happened there in the past 2 years or so. What did the police commissioner in Imo do with the brigade commander? Don't worry. 3-4 weeks ago, they stormed the place early in the morning with other security agencies. They've cleared the mess. That market resumed that day. See, today there is peace. They put security network there. Commissioner Imo, brigade commander Oweri. People jubilated, people were happy. But before, bandits took over the place, collecting ransom, doing all sorts of things. People could no longer go about their business. Look, next year we are going to have more hunger. Unless and until people are allowed to return to their farms and get back to their homes. It's not a question of there are no evidence. I don't need to give you evidence. We have our intel. It happened during President Jonathan. And some of the people involved even confessed after President Buhari came to office. I'm not talking from cattle field. I live in Nigeria.
But whatever criminality went on under Jonathan went on under President Buhari, and there are those who will believe that, in fact, it increased. So if it was a political or ethnic politics that became rife, don't you think that it was sustained if it was because of a particular tendency?
No, you saw that the thing came down. It started with certain policies of President Tinubu. Moving certain things. You must read between the lines. I live here. I love this country. Whatever I'm saying here is because of my love for this country. Not people by lip service. I love Nigeria. I love Nigeria. They don't love Nigeria in shape. Those policy decisions, you have what is really happening in other areas like Senate and other places. These are things, small screen. These are things plotted against what we have now. The security agencies must go into it. Locate these people. Look at, I gave you an example, just small enclave in Imo. What happened? Go and meet them there and smoke them out.
There was a recent arrest, and I see Mr. Bukati back with us. There was a recent arrest by the military, and when they arrested some of these people, they saw where they were crafting ammunitions, where they were crafting drones. Give us a sense of what you make of that. I mean, there are those who say, look, those men who they caught, they should keep them somewhere and use their intelligence to be able to, if they are locally fabricating all of these arms they will be using against the state. I mean, what are your thoughts about that kind of scenario?
Yeah, I mean, Sean, I know you didn't hear my initial point, the initial point I was making, and I mean, maybe you have heard part, and I could hear my brother responding to some of it. I was saying his statements are mainly political statements that are conspiracy theories that are not supported by any sort of evidence. Boko Haram, for example, started under President Obasanjo. And when it started under President Obasanjo in 2003, some people in the north said it was being orchestrated by Obasanjo in order to elongate his power, his stay in power. And then it continued under President Eradua. It escalated under President Jonathan and then became bigger under President Buhari. And of course, we then started to see the escalation of the bandit crisis in the northwestern part of Nigeria under President Buhari. Some of the most affected areas under President Buhari was his home state, Katsina. People in his own state were being killed, including his relatives. And now President Tinubu is in power, and someone is sitting in channel studio saying people are, those who are attacking are after President Tinubu's seat. They should have been going to Abuja and attacking Abuja if that was the case. They are attacking innocent school children. They are demanding ransom from parents. And these are clear cases of repugnant criminals who do not want us to live in peace because of their economic motives. But if we came and politicized it, politicized the issue and made it a political rhetoric, then we may end up exacerbating the crisis, and we will never get to the root of the issue. We will end up dividing our country. And if my brother is so confident that he knows the politicians who are orchestrating this from the top in order to take over power from Abuja, he should have the audacity to name them. Give us their names. He said he knows them. Give us their names. You are on the national television so that those people can answer for the crimes you are, accusing, or the intelligence agencies will get information, obviously, that they don't have, that you do have. But we cannot sit here and be making statements that are free of evidence in the name of analysis. This is political. We cannot turn security into a political football. We have to stick to the facts, and the facts are that we have repugnant criminals and terrorists wreaking havoc in our country, and the government needs to do more to tackle them.
Well, Mr. Bukati, what do you think would be the necessary steps to take? Because now this is escalating, and it's escalating badly, and we look like we've thrown our hands in the air and we are helpless in the face of these criminals who are terrorizing innocent citizens. If there is one thing that needs to be done now and now, what would that be?
It is better use of our current resources, Sheun. For example, we keep saying the Nigerian military is overstretched, the Nigerian military overstretched. I completely agree that the Nigerian military is handling a lot right now. But Shewan, until today, there are dozens of generals in the barracks. There are dozens, I mean, hundreds, if you like, of thousands of military men in the barracks. If I were President Tinubu, I am going to deploy each and every general. No general will stay in any barracks, and no service chiefs would stay in Abuja. They would all be deployed to the field, and I will give them a deadline, for example, to rescue the current set of boys and girls that were abducted. This is number one. Secondly, Sean, we might think it's easy, for example, because a particular gang in Imo State has been pounced upon while living in the city, it's easy for us then to invade the bush we are talking about. Kaduna State alone is 2.5 times bigger than 4 or 5 northeastern Nigerian states. And so it's a vast area we are talking about, like the Zambiza forest, or like the forest in the northwest and the north central parts of Nigeria. They are very big. These criminals have mastered the act of evading attacks and fleeing into the Nigerian side of the border when there is onslaught by the Nigerian army. We need better, transnational cooperation. But what we need to do right now is to make better use of the military and the security enforcement agencies we have on the ground, make better use of our technology, the drones you are talking about, the surveillance capacity you are talking about, our arms and ammunitions. And remember, Sean, that Nigeria does not produce any of these arms and ammunitions or the strikes we are using, the bombs we are using. It costs a lot of money, and every bullet you shoot, whether it kills or not, it consuming money. And therefore, the Nigerian government itself says we do not have the capacity. And sometimes even when we buy the weapons, it takes years to produce and to supply. And we know there are Western countries that do not sell weapons to Nigeria. I think it's time for Nigeria to make it clear to all our Western allies that if you are not going to sell weapons to us, we will know that you are no longer our friends, and we are going to classify you as our enemies, because we cannot continue to deal with this situation, and you keep citing flimsy excuses in some situations in order to deny us weapons. And then make better use of the weapons. Flush out corruption from our security and law enforcement expenditure, because there is huge corruption going on there, and it is inhibiting our ability to respond, as well as our ability to motivate our soldiers on the ground to do what is needed. These are some of what we need to do: better intelligence, better use of our current resources, better use of our armed forces, especially the generals that are still in the barracks, and better use of the even human intelligence we have on the ground. Because when you go to the villages that are affected, Sean, they would show you the bushes where these criminals are hiding. All right. They would show you the den where these people have established, and therefore it is not too difficult to reach them. But what is inhibiting us is use of resources that. So I will just give you one example to end with, Sheun. Right now, the Nigerian military is still using heavy machinery that cannot penetrate into the bush because there are no access roads. And most of their vehicles are stopped in the mud when they start to go into the bush. And what you need to do right now is for them to start to get the Nigerian military to start operating with light machinery, light vehicles. We know that the criminals are using motorcycles in order to conduct these operations, and they go in a convoy of 100, 200, 300. And the Nigerian armed forces will start to use the same kind of vehicles in order to penetrate into the bush and take the fight to the criminal and terrorist gangs.
Mr. Bulama Bukati, I wish the network was better, but we need to go on a break. Chief Iwuanyanwu is still with us, but thank you so much, Mr. Bukati, for joining us tonight. He's been speaking with us from London. Thank you so much, Mr. Bukati, for your time today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll take a
Thank you
break,
very
everyone.
much.
But when we come back, we'll wrap up on this matter of insecurity in Nigeria. What is the role of the police? What is the role of the NSCDC? What are the new styles that we need to employ to get these people out of Nigerian soil and stop them from perpetrating this evil on Nigerian soil? And I'll also take you to the National Assembly on this budget pardon matter. We're already hearing from the Minister of Budget. The National Assembly is replying to PDP and said, Akpabio will not resign. All of these get our attention when we return from this break, everyone. Join us again. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us. Let's continue our conversation on the program. Let's wrap up on this matter of national security. And so you heard what Mr. Bukati said. Well, fundamentally, the police has the burden and the constitutional role to safeguard the internal politics, the internal security of the country, and also civil engagement within the country. That's their cardinal role. You ask, what is the NSCDC doing? Is the police being funded enough? Do we have the right structure to ensure that the police carry out his cardinal role in ensuring peace and stability in the country? That's a critical question also, isn't it?
Well, before I get to that point, it's laughable that Mr. Bukati still believes there's no politics, what is happening. I don't blame him. I sympathize with him. He's not here. And people spoke better during the President Jonathan's time when this thing was happening. They made convincing arguments that there was no politics in it. But when they succeeded, they went for a party that they have succeeded. So people like him who are far from here, you should not expect me to be giving him names of people.
But it has to be substantiated.
No. You see,
if there are personalities,
these are security issues, and you have your intelligence, and you don't ask me to give you my intelligence unless we have agreement on exchange of intelligence. You can't ask me; I won't talk to you.
Because for the sake of the public, though.
No, the truth is that go out there, they will tell you that this is political. Go to the public. That's what they will tell you. Some Nigerians will love to pretend. You see the right thing, you don't say it, you don't look at it, you don't talk about it, so that you will not be tagged as somebody who is against this or against that. No. The truth is that, or the summary is, President Tinubu get the appropriate hands in the field, give the appropriate orders. They will clear this mess. There are many people who are feeding fat. Look at the amount of money they're talking about. He referred to Boko Haram. It started small. When they saw the money, they expanded. But the purpose of increasing the tempo, as at that time, was for power. As they have started now. Look at the time of President Jonathan. They went on demonstration, they went on rallies, they did all sorts of things. Because President Jonathan, calm, gentleman, perfect president we had, they succeeded with the treachery. So
your theory is that they are using insecurity as a political tool for instability.
No, I'm saying that since they have found a way that worked for them before, they can also use it the second time. But this time around, it's not going to be problem. It's going to be problematic. Nigerians are waiting. Nigerians are not happy with the way we are having all these skirmishes all over the place. The buck ends on President Tinubu's table. He is the only person that can give the commanding orders. Let him do so and get results. These people will leave the forest.
Let me take you to a bit of what happened on the floor. I mean, we're hearing now from the Minister of Budget on some of these back and forth on the Appropriation Act, the allegations about padding and the non-transparency of the process and all what have you. Let's take a listen to the minister.
Mr. President presented a budget of 27.503 trillion, and the National Assembly, in its wisdom, increased the budget to 28.77, an increase of about 1.2 trillion budget. When people talk about padding, I think the word has been narrowed to a negative form, whereas in reality, there can be no appropriation without either addition or subtraction of a sum, or agreeing to what was presented, or addition of a new project. And that is the choice, that is the consequence of democracy.
What do you make of that? I mean, this budget, this is not the first time we're hearing about it.
You see, the National Assembly has the powers of appropriation. I don't want to waste my time with somebody collected 500 million, somebody collected 300 million. Look, Shehu, is this not budget for the whole year? Is 28.7 trillion put in a box that they will start using knife to divide it, you carry your own and go? What is the road of accountant general? There are things you will say, I don't waste my time on them. But you see, if I talk about politics now, you will say, politics again? But I'm happy some of the senators say so on the floor of the House. I think it was God's doing that somebody like Akpabio, who headed, became the Senate president. I supported him as against his closest rival.
Do you still support him now?
Well, I will not say no.
Because you know the reason why I'm asking you the question?
Yes.
Because there are allegations against the Senate president as to the kind of projects, boreholes and all what have you that are going to his own state as constituency project totaling billions of naira, and which is getting a lot of agitation. About the Senate spokesperson is reacting to it. And those, in fact, senators are agitated about what they had accused the Senate president of underhandling and the manner in which he has gone about the activities of running the affairs of the Senate.
That is within the purview of the Senate to treat. Would you change?
Is it not the duty of Nigerians? Because they are being elected to represent the Nigerian people.
Nigerians.
And if people are poking and saying, look, there are some things that are not right, in the manner in which
Nigerians can ask questions. But some of these things that are saying there are no facts we have seen. Don't say I'm supporting anybody. There are no facts we have seen. These are figures. You said something has been padded somewhere, something is padded the other way. I know these funds they are talking about. If this constituency project, we have been hearing about constituency project since 1999. It is only in my own part of the country that we don't see it. I was talking with a member of House of Reps some years ago, Labour Party House of Rep member. He told me about the number of people he had given a job in his federal constituency and the projects he brought there, actually in Ondo State. I was listening to him. When he finished, I said, wow. Where did my own House of Rep member put his own projects? How many people did he influence the employment? So it depends on how you look at it. The public will have the right to interrogate some of these actions.
Because, in interrogating it, for example, Chief Iwuanyanwu, 427 boreholes to cost about 82.5 billion in that budget. It then means that per unit of that borehole, it will cost 193 million naira per borehole. As a private citizen, would you construct a borehole for 190 million naira? They costed 1,150 street lights to cost 212 billion naira. And each of that comes to 184 million naira per street light. As a citizen, a private citizen, will you build, if you were to build that in front of your house, would you construct a street light for 180 million naira? These are some of the issues of transparency. These are issues of accountability. And when Nigerians are asking that give us the details of some of these line items, there are questions that the Senate needs to come to public.
I agree with your position on that. You see, in this country, I have not seen these details. I just came back yesterday. I've been away out of Abuja. And I've called my secretary, let's have these details of the budget. If you bring me back, I'll tear it into, I'll tell you what my observations are. But let me tell you, contracts in this country have been bloated. Do you know how much it costs to build a kilometer rail in the neighbor here and in Nigeria? This is what ditto roads. That is not to justify it. But what I'm saying is, if they have discovered something obnoxious in the budget, there are ample provisions there to bring it to public domain by raising it on the floor of the Senate. I think what angered the senators was getting to BBC, speaking outside. If those things he said outside, he had said it on the floor of the Senate, it would have been covered by immunity.
Yeah, but if people are calling for the head of Senator Akpabio, because of some of the things that they have been directed to his own constituency, and people have raised flags, and perhaps the costing of some of these projects. This is the way the Senate reacted to it. And there was a Senator Adaramodu reacted and said, Akpabio will not resign and has no intention to resign at any time because he has not committed any wrongdoing to warrant a resignation. But do you think that Senator Akpabio should be answering some questions and coming clean about some of these projects that have been linked to his constituency and the costing of it as a public servant?
So I'm very careful when I have or see situations like this. It was in this country that 5 Senate presidents from the Southeast were removed after accusing them of a wrongdoing. Shehu, listen to me. You remove them, the matter dies. That means you have achieved their purpose, not really the reason for removal. The second person was removed. The third person was removed. The fourth person was removed. The fifth person was removed. All within a particular Senate season. Now, I don't want a situation where we don't have enough facts. We start repeating it with Senator Akpabio. And I think the Senate, if there are issues, I will not support any wrongdoing in the Senate. If there are issues that Akpabio has overreached himself, Senate should, in an executive session, bring it up, and there is possibility of looking at the budget again.
That's a very
but this issue of impeach. If you ask me, people are not happy again that Akpabio is not towing a line. I have not seen Akpabio, I have not spoken with him since he became Senate President. So don't get me wrong. But I'm guided by past experience we had. My good friend Lawa finished his tenure. There was no problem. David Mark came, he became the toss of everybody 8 years. It doesn't mean nothing was wrong. It doesn't mean that he was an angel. Everything was done right. Akpabio now will not dance to the tune. I'm still talking about the office of the president.
All right.
Chenwu. Something cried, the boat cried last night. The child died this morning. Chenwu, don't ask me who killed the child.
All right.
It was that boat that cried last night.
Chief Iwuanyanwu, we are totally out of time. Thanks so much indeed. The national chairman of Zenith Labour Party and the presidential candidate of the party in the 2023 general election. Thanks so much indeed for your time.
Thank you for having me,
I appreciate it.